All right, Hillary Clinton is tweeting about this now kaput Pfizer deal. Quoting here, glad to hear Pfizer is calling off the merger. We need to close the loopholes that let corporations escape paying their taxes. But it comes at a time when many are saying whatever you think of inversions and slowing them down or stopping them, it is the government's role to, in the middle of the process, interfere in that process without due process, as Judge Napolitano pointed out. Who better ask than a guy who's been a pretty big corporate maverick, an entrepreneur that has worked with government, outside of government. Steve Case, the author of The Third Wave of AOL fame, et al. Good to have you, Steve.
Great to be back.
You touch on these kind of issues, but more to the point on what you make of inversions in general, if you don't mind getting into the weeds here a little bit. I can understand why the president did and said what he said, but that action alone stopped a $160 billion merger, potentially tens of billions of dollars more. What do you think?
Well, I think we're seeing the globalization of capital. Now we're seeing the globalization of entrepreneurship, and you need to figure out what the right rules of the road are globally. And I think figuring out the real answer is we need to fix our tax code and make it something that's simpler and more consistent.
But you didn't do that. You went right to step B.
Well, I think we need to figure out whether it's this side or that side, how you get people to come together to actually finally deal with the tax code. It's been talked about for years. I've lived in Washington for 3 decades. Everybody talks about it. Nobody does anything about it. And it's time to actually take a look so you don't have to deal with some of these inversion issues because it really is baked in. And I think the bias, though, whenever you look at that tax code is how do you create more incentive for more investment in risky startups, because they are the ones that really do create the jobs. They are the ones that really drive the growth.
What do you think of companies that find that entrepreneurial spirit, that low-tax environment, low-regulatory environment more favorable abroad than here, and they want to take advantage of it?
And there's some of that going on, and some of the regulatory issues around the approval of drugs, for example, has moved some of the drug discovery development offshore. I think that's a concern. That's indeed part of the reason I wrote the book. I have a whole chapter on the disruption of America and how we need to reboot our own government and take a fresh look at a lot of policies so we really can remain the most innovative entrepreneurial nation. I think that's within our grasp, but it's not guaranteed. People around the world have figured out that sort of the secret sauce that's kind of powered the American story for the last 2 centuries has been the fact that we've been this pioneering, innovative, entrepreneurial nation. And